for joining in this webinar on preparing for 21st century job markets. Usually, whenever I go to the class and I'm teaching, I see a lot of students having problems with what are they going to do with what they are studying with, or what are they, what is it really like in the job market? What is needed? And sometimes, having been in the job market space, I also know some of the things that are also relevant. And sadly, I would say sometimes what students are being taught is still a bit so traditional and doesn't really match up to current markets value. So they learn something now and then they finish and they realize that some of the things that they've learned is more of training for them. Then when they go to the job market, they realize that maybe a lot of the tools are different and some of the things they were not really, was not emphasized for them to see that this is what the job market will be looking out for. And so I felt that kind of these webinars will help the students understand what is needed and then help them prepare so that whenever they are even learning anything, they put that into context of what is needed, what skill is required, what they are learning, how can they use it in the relevant job market. So I'm very happy for all of you joining. Very glad Isaac is here. Isaac is in the US, in the university, and also just last summer was an intern at Facebook, Facebook software, the Metaverse. And then we also have Fatima. Fatima is the head of developer relations and startups for Africa at NVIDIA. So her office is in Accra. And then we have Edem Money, who is a principal engineer for Vibes Media, Chicago, USA. So I'm very happy that we have such very good speakers who will give us really state of the art in what is needed. What can they also even benefit from, even as students are in school? What are some of the things they can be looking out for to prepare themselves for when they finish school? They know that they have skills that are readily available for the market and they will get jobs. And they will not be wondering, if I finish school, what should I do to get a job here and there? So thank you all very much. So I'll leave it for Isaac to start with. Isaac. So just a brief information about Isaac. Isaac completed in Fansipim very, very recently. I was one of their science and math and science quiz students, very, very top guy, and very, very happy that he decided to join us also to share his experience studying in US, going to do internship, what he's seeing there and stuff like that. So Isaac, please go ahead.
Dr. Moore, thank you. I hope everyone can hear me.
Yes.
Okay, all right, that's fine. I have a bit of a cold, so I'm sorry if my voice sounds a bit muffled. So my name is Isaac. As Dr. Moore said, I went to Fansipim. I go to school in the US now. I major in math and computer science. I believe most of us here major in either one of them. Correct. So, first, I'm going to talk about my journey to getting into my internship, and then after I'm done with that, we can just go through like a general overview of like what you need or like how the job market looks like or how best you can prepare yourself. Before I got into my internship, the first thing I needed was a resume. A resume is like an experienced version of a CV. Like a CV is more academic. You list your academic background and research and stuff like that. But a resume more focuses on your skills and experience. And it's usually just one page for an undergrad. And we'll go into it later on when I finish talking about my path to Facebook. So I applied my resume, and then once your resume looks good to them or they want to interview you, they'll send you out an email. They'll schedule a series of interviews. It's in parts. You don't just do everything at once. And most of the interview is technical, meaning that when you log into the interview, you have like one or two Facebook engineers where they give you a coding question. right on the spot, and then you have to solve the question. It's very different to what you learn in school, as in like the problem solving you learn in school. Because in school, you're trying to really build software mostly or codes like normally or solve a problem, something like that. But with the technical interviews, it's purely algorithmic. They give you an algorithm question and then you have to come up with an algorithm that solves a problem like there and then. Maybe like trivially, like you write a program that when you feed in two numbers into the program, it adds the two numbers and returns the output, like something like that. But more complex. I'm just giving an example. So yeah, you go through a series of the algorithm interviews, and then if you pass all of them, or maybe you don't have to do like excellent, it really depends on your overall performance. You move on. The last stage is mostly a behavioral interview, so it's not all about coding. You have to be likable as well at the end of the day. And then if all goes well, you get hired, you do some paperwork, and then come the summer, you start to work. Uh, so that was the journey through Facebook. It sounds a bit simplified, but it was a lot of details in every stage, which it may be trivial to talk about, but those were the main issues. Uh, Now, as Dr. Moore said, it's like when you're in school, it's very scary because you don't know what you're going to do. Like, you're not sure if you're learning the right thing, if you're doing the right thing, if you're going to be employable, or like what are you going to do afterwards. I think the best way to approach this is that as you go through school, kind of like build your resume in your head because well, your resume, I believe most of us here will probably know what a resume is, but it's like it's not a CV, but it's kind of like a CV. Uh, it's mostly just limited to one page for undergrads. So try to like if you go online and then just Google like computer science resumes for undergrad, you see a lot of samples, like a lot of samples that are really, really helpful. And they mostly usually follow the same formats, which mostly like your personal info, your education, your skills, your relevant courses, experience, and then personal projects. Yes. So when you Google, you find a lot of samples, but when you are, as I was saying before, when you are going about your day or through school, try to build your resume in your head. Like, what am I doing that will make me look attractive? Because that's what you're trying to do in the first place. Because no matter how much you learn, if you don't market yourself, you can't display the skills you've learned, right? It's like startups where you have a very nice business module, but you can't market it. The fact that you have a nice business module does not mean you become profitable. You still have to be able, marketing is like really, really crucial. And so when you're seeing into marketing, it's mostly your resume. So you're trying to build your resume and market yourself. So as you go through college, try to like as you go through university, try to think about how you are going to market yourself properly. That means that how you are going to get the best resume you can. Now, when you're an undergrad, it's quite hard to get like experience and stuff like that. And so most of the things like mainly experience. And so most of the gap is made up for in project building. So when you don't like, have the skills, right? It's not the experience. It's not always the experience, your resume, because you're an undergrad. People know you're an undergrad. And so they don't expect you to like do out of the world stuff or work that out of the world places or like top firms or anything like that. You just have to show that you have transferable skills, like you are employable. And the best way to show that is to, especially for CS majors, is to build projects. Like if you learn Python in school or web development in school or on your own, have you made something by yourself with it? Like you put it on GitHub, like or put it somewhere on the internet that people can go to and see that, oh, he's not really read that anywhere, but he can do this. So if we give him the chance, he can do this. You know, the projects are very, very important because when I was applying to my first internship, I didn't have like any experience. I was like first year or second year, I didn't really have any experience. But if you have projects, they really make up for it. Like you are able to show that you have transferable skills. And so if you are wondering like what like am I doing the right thing? Like am I going to like, be able to work? Like what am I going to do at work? You have to be able to build projects because they help answer some of these things. Because the truth is that when you do IT or computer science or even math and physics, you don't learn you cannot learn all the things. Like you cannot learn all the things, especially in computer science. Like it's always changing, you cannot learn the things. But the good thing is that most of the skills are transferable. For instance, if you take programming languages, let's say if you learn Java and then you find a job that uses only Python, you don't have to panic, right? Because if you actually know Java, then it's still programming. The syntax is just different. I mean, there's a few differences, but the core concepts are still the same. And so when you build projects, it shows, regardless of what language it's in, it shows the transferability. It's like if you do something with React, right? If you work with React and like can produce something on the front end with React and you've shown it by building a project and not just by saying it, it means that if I give you a project in say Angular, you'll be able to do it as well. You don't know Angular, but we've worked with React before, and so I believe that you have that transferability, and then in a matter of like a short time, you'll be able to pick up and apply what you've learned from React to Angular. And so know that your projects are like really, really important, especially if you're an undergrad, and then most especially if you don't have a lot of experience. Just keep on building various projects, like build various projects, host them on GitHub. GitHub, I mostly use GitHub because it's free and it's very student friendly, and it's pretty straightforward. If you upload all the files, we generate a link for you, a global link for you. It's not really, or you can follow YouTube to like be loading your project. But once you have projects that everyone can go to and see what you've done, it makes things a bit more easier for you, right? Because you don't have experience, but then you have projects. Well, aside from the projects, another thing is that you don't know the whole problem here is that you don't know what you're going to do, right? So one of the best ways to go about it is to talk to people who know how to go about it. It's like what we're doing here right now. But outside of like here, day-to-day activities, you have to connect. And at school, these people are mostly your professors. Like Dr. Moore, I'm sure he has like a lot of experience dealing with like work-related stuff. Most of your other professors will too, like your other lecturers will as well. And so I know probably it will be harder because it's a lot of students, but you still have to find a way to connect with them. Like the camp office hours, you can like stop by, ask them a question. I'm sure if you send them emails, they'll answer. Like after class, you don't just leave. Like kind of connect with them a little bit. Uh, let them let you know what's happening. So that you are not lost, so that you are not like off the track. You cannot like fully know what's going on, or they may be busy or whatever, but you have to persist because you need it, they don't. And so you have to make use of the connections. When there's like events on campus, they're hosting various computer science stuff on campus, you have to attend them. I know school is hard, like you have assignment, quizzes, midterms to write and all of that. But like one Saturday, most of these events are like Fridays and Saturdays. You can attend some of these, you never know who you meet. And then that comes in with like a personal elevator pitch. So an elevator pitch is like you're trying to sell yourself. Yeah, the wording is wrong, but like in a positive way, like tell you something about it. But like the term comes from like let's say you meet a very successful person and then you want to get them to buy into your idea and then you're getting on an elevator. You have just a few seconds on an elevator with them and you have to pitch, like you have to sell yourself to them, you have to get them to like you. You have to be able to construct a very short, it shouldn't take more than like 20 seconds to get a person more interested to talking with you. And then in an elevator pitch, you're mostly trying to highlight what makes you attractive. And so, like, oh, my name is so and so. I'm third year. I'm about to graduate at UCC. I have a GPA of this and that. I can really do this and that. If you give me some time, I can show you. Like, you just highlight your uh outstanding achievements. Like, have you built something that's like really nice? Drawing us back to the project phase. Do you have a really like high GPA that's like really attractive that will get people's attention? Have you done anything spectacular? Do you play sports? Like, have you set a record or something? Like, you're just trying to get the person attention. You're not trying to be elaborate or anything. You're just trying to get the attention so that they will talk to you some more. when they have time. And so get an elevator pitch on the go. Like once you are called on off on, like once you meet someone you would like to talk to or someone's attention you would like to get, you're just like on the go, you're ready to go. Okay. So networking is one of the other things you can do to get a fair idea where you're going. LinkedIn also helps a lot. When you go on LinkedIn, you can connect to like a lot of people. You can message people. Most of them will not reply, but that's the worst that could happen. They will not reply. The best that could happen is they will help you out. So, when you wait the stage, there's not really any risk here. You just connect with people as much as you can. Just basically have an online presence. Like I'm not saying like be an influencer or anything, but if people want to find you, they should be able to find you. They should be able to look you up. They should be able to know that, oh, you can do this and you can do that. And building a project is something that you can showcase. And then getting the elevator pitch in there, connecting with people is getting them to look at the project you have built. It's like they work hand in hand. Now, you will probably ask like, well, how would I know what project to build or how can I like learn what project? It just starts easy. YouTube is a very, very, very useful resource. Like YouTube is like really useful. During my internship, I've used YouTube a lot because I was working on something that I was unfamiliar with. And so I had to use YouTube a lot. So YouTube is a very useful resource. Like if you don't know what to do, like you're trying to learn a new skill, like any skill you're trying to learn, there's probably a tutorial on YouTube. YouTube is more friendly as well because you don't have to pay. Like, I mean, if you have money and you want a more organized structure, you can use like Coursera or Udemy. But YouTube is fine as well. You will find tutorials of almost everything you want to learn. Like if you're a CS major, if you're a computer science major, if you want to learn like new technologies like Android development, uh, web development, you want to learn Angular, you want to learn React, you want to even learn artificial intelligence ones are more difficult to follow, but you will still have some basis to start up. If you're a math major, if you want to learn about like abstract algebra, differential equations, stuff like you will still find all those things on YouTube. And so YouTube is a very like basic, very, very useful resource. It also helps in the sense that most of the people who do these videos are in the tech space or whatever space you're trying to get into, in the math space or physics space. And so when you watch their videos and you subscribe to them, they don't always just make videos about studying. Sometimes they just talk about general stuff of how to get better in the thing, of how to know what's current in the field. And so when you connect with such people, you don't even just need to get in touch with them or just subscribe to their page and then constantly be watching their videos. You will be in the know. See, a lot of our anxiety comes from the fact that we don't know. It's like when you start an internship or a job, you don't know, right? And then the only way to reduce your anxiety, not the only way, but one of the best ways to reduce your anxiety or imposter syndrome is to kind of have some confidence in what you're doing. Like for instance, if you're a math major, like if you do math, like your course is math, and then I give you like a very simple differential to differentiate, you're not going to be scared, right? Like because you know that, oh, this is like what I do all the time. Whereas if I give you something different, maybe if I ask you to write code or something, you will be scared because you don't know like what you don't really know what you're going to do. And so most of our anxiety comes from not knowing. And so the best thing we can do to deal with our confusion or uh what like uncertainty and all of that is to learn. Like you just have to learn. It's hard and it's difficult because like the students want to like there's a lot of things we have to do, but you have to learn the technologies outside of class because the school structure is such that the teachers can never teach you everything and they cannot even teach you most of the stuff because they have a syllabus to follow. And then the purpose of the school is to just give you the basics. And so if you take a look at your courses, you realize that maybe apart from a few of the upper level classes, like when you're in level 300 or 400, most of them are like they introduce you to the thing, you do a little bit of touch basing, and then you just leave it. It's just how undergrad is designed. It's not meant to like you. fully in depth or it gets you to know exactly what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to take the next step yourself. And then for CS majors, there's a lot of resources out there for you. For like math and physics, you may have to go further, like get a master's or do a PhD if you're really into it. But like there's a lot of resources there for yourself if you want to get better at something, like get better at whatever skill you need to do. And YouTube is like a very, very crucial resource that you can use. Um, One thing I also want to say is that it kind of gets overwhelming when you start doing these things. Like, well, at first you used to you just do your homework, but now I'm saying like try to build projects, like create stuff on your own. Or just so I say, your projects don't have to be like really complex or anything out of the world. You're just trying to show that you have skills that are transferable. Like you've done something. Like you've done something outside of class. And mostly that's what employers are trying to see. Because imagine you're an employee, just sometimes just when you're applying to a job, put yourself in the shoes of the person who is going to evaluate your application, right? Like if I were if I own this company, would I apply this person? Why? Because if you just list like I go to school here, I did this, I have this GPA, I do all of that. Like, okay. And so I can get like a lot of people who can do that. Because if you're not unique, then you're not in demand. So you have to show that you've done something outside of class. You don't just go to school and go to bed. Like you don't just go to class and then go to bed and then write exams and then go away. Because no one wants to employ someone like that. Because you can be a really good student, but you can be a really bad worker because you just learn to pass or something. A GPA is not always a good indication of like how well you can do on the job. So you have to give me something more. So what I was initially saying was that it it's hectic. It kind of gets hard combining all of these things as a student, but you should not give up. It's a really important thing that most of the time when people are talking to students, they leave out. I've realized that myself because I've gone to quite a lot of seminars, and most of the time, the people who are speaking just forget to tell the students that you should try as much as possible to not give up because it's really hard. Uh, it's really, really hard to keep going when you're like an undergrad because you'd be like, do I really even have to do all of these as an undergrad? The question is, yes, you have to, and you have to find a way to keep on motivating yourself. Most of the time, just think of like why you're doing it. It's very hard to combine all these assignments with like looking for a job or an internship or like learning new skills, but you have to do them anyway because in the end they're going to benefit you the most more than anyone else, right? So it's hard to keep going, but try to not give up. Try. I just wanted to say that before I forgot. Try to not give up. Okay. So let me talk more about like the resume because I said that when you're going through college, the best way to try to not be anxious is to try to build your resume in your mind. When you, as I said before, when you Google like, resume samples, you have like a lot of resumes to look at. Um, Try to keep it one page. I feel like that's one of the most probable mistakes we make, but try to keep it one page because I didn't know that when I started. And then try to keep the language, the formatting really good because recruiters will not spend more than like 10 seconds looking at your resume or recruiters or HR managers. They don't really take a long time to look at your resume because they have a lot of them to look at. And so you want it to, one, look appealing and then two, grasp the attention as soon as you can. And so when you are listing your experiences, I mean, you have to list them. There's like basic rules you follow, list them in order of like current to uh oldest. Some people say more impactful to like less impactful. As in, let's say if I enter on Facebook and I have a job on campus, like in school, I will probably put like Facebook before my job on campus. I mean, that's usually fine if the like a difference in dates is not that much, but usually just try to follow like a descending order of dates completed and then put your projects on your resume, your skills. The resume building like the needs its whole session on its own, Dr. Moore, if you would. But it's like a lot of it goes into it. But if you watch samples and then you watch a lot of videos. And then you get feedback. Like if you do your resume, you can I don't know, I may give out my LinkedIn in the end. You can like send it to me, I can look at it, I can give you feedback in the end. But there's a lot of places you can go and get feedback, like School's Career Service. You can get other people to look at it, read through it, no mistakes, like grammatical mistakes, because that just puts everyone off. So get a resume, right? Um, and then just apply a lot, right? Because you don't know what you're going to do. You kind of have a fair idea of what you want to do, but you never know where you're going to end up, right? Like what you're going to do in the end. And so the main thing that you want to do, the worst thing that you want to do is to give yourself a limited option. As in, you already limit yourself when you already don't have a lot of options. And so you apply to almost everything that you see. If it says like you have to have like 2 years of experience or something, it's fine. The worst that's going to happen is a no. I know no's hurts after some time, but resilience is really important here because you have to keep on applying and then you have to keep on going. Like you have to apply a lot. It's something that when we go to mostly when we go to like our career meetings, they encourage us to do. You want to apply to as many as you can because at the end of the day, it's mostly a numbers game. And so you want to increase your chances as much as you can. It's like uh the math majors, if you're like trying to do an expected value, you multiply the probability by the outcome of it, right? So you want to increase your expected value as much as possible. If you apply to very little, your expected value will not be high, right? And so you want to increase your expected value as much as you can. And so you want to apply to a lot of companies as you can. Now, don't just like spam them and make them empty applications because that's like not putting any effort, but put in effort and then apply to as many as you can. Let's say like if you apply one a day, like if you apply to like jobs like or internships or try to find an internship to apply to, like even if you do two a day, there's like 30 days in a year, that's 15 you've sent out in a month. It's a good number. And then you build on that. And then you apply to. I know there may not be a lot of them out there for you to apply to because you're an undergrad, but how many you can find, you can get your hands on. Try to apply to them. Like really try to apply to them. So that's with with your resume and the application. Just in summary, you don't know what you're trying to do. You're not sure what you're trying to do, and you're scared of like what's going to happen after you graduate and all of that. But try to learn as much as you can. Like that's the first step. Like learn. Like, and when I say learn, I don't mean like in class. I mean in class, yeah, you have to learn for a GPA, you have to graduate and all of that. But on your own, you see, there's learning that you do to pass in class, and then there's one that you do to be good for yourself, to make yourself better. That's what I'm talking about right now. Like learn for yourself. Like try to learn so that you know this thing. Like you're not learning for the exam or you're not learning to pass a quiz. You are learning for yourself, like for your career. That kind of learning, you have to learn it a lot. Fortunately for computer science majors, most of the things you learn in school will really be useful. Although they will be just the surface level, they will set you up. And so what you learn in class as well is also useful for you in your career. So you learn a lot. Just try to learn. As I said before, YouTube is a very good resource. If you have money, you can do Coursera or Udemy, but YouTube should be fine. Now, after you learn, build projects. Like it doesn't matter. It may look like silly in your head because you're like, it's like, what am I doing? But for instance, if you let's say learn front end development, just like HTML, CSS, JavaScript stuff, and then you build a personal website for yourself. It doesn't have to be fancy. Like say, oh, like you have a picture of yourself and then where you go to school and maybe a few things you've done. That's like really great for an undergrad. I mean, it's not like really, really great, but it's good. Like it shows them that you can build something from nothing and then host it somewhere. Like you've shown that you have a transferable skills. Build project. Like I cannot stress that enough. Especially when you're an undergrad and you have no experience. Build project. Like your experience part on your resume can be like just one experience, and then the rest of the thing can be filled with projects. It's fine. Like when you build projects, it tells really good things about you because it means you can manage yourself. You can get yourself to sit down and do something. You can learn, you can transfer your skills, you can build something from nothing, right? And so it makes you look really attractive. Connect with people, go to events, like stuff like this, talk to your professors, get in touch with people. Uh, Anything that's happening on campus, try to get yourself involved in because you don't want to find yourself in a situation where you are done with school. You're trying to get a CV, you're trying to get a resume, but you don't know what to put. And you're thinking, how, but there's nothing you can put unless you lie. Join clubs, organizations. I'm sure there's a lot of clubs like on campus. Join ones that are like useful for you or you think you find profitable. Join a lot of clubs, a lot of organizations, do a lot of good work, uh, be involved, know people, connect with them, and then have an elevator pitch on the go. To reiterate, an elevator pitch is just you trying to sell yourself in a very short amount of time so someone like people get an interest in you to talk to you more. Try to get that also unlocked. And then once you have these done as an undergrad, you've done most of the work you can do, and luck plays a role as well. And so you need a little bit of luck, but when you present yourself, like when you prime yourself up for it, you get more lucky, for lack of a better word. So when the opportunity comes knocking, you have like present to yourself. Because if you just like know people and then you don't have anything to show, trust me, no one's gonna hire you if you don't think you're not gonna make them profits. And so even if you know people, just try to prime yourself as well and put yourself in a good spot. And it's scary. Uh, yeah, if I say it's not scary, it's a lie. It's really scary. Even after you get a job, you have to like go and it's a whole different ball game altogether. It's really scary, but it's very doable. Like it's very doable. Um, Speaking on the job from my internship perspective, when you're an intern, you kind of have more structure than when you are a full-time worker. Like if you're an intern, you have a mentor and then you have a manager, at least here. So you have someone who is always looking over you. They don't micromanage you most of the time, as in they're not looking at everything you're doing. They give you the free space to flourish. But you have more structure. You ask questions, like ask questions a lot, like ask a lot of questions. No question is dumb. Like even if they think it's dumb, they'll still answer it anyway. So ask a lot of questions because it's better to ask a dumb question, let them clarify it, and then build the right thing than not saying anything. Do what you think is right. And then in the end it's wrong. And like you spent like a week doing the wrong thing. And then they're just going to increase the anxiety you already had coming to the interview, coming to the job. And so on the job, ask a lot of questions. If you don't know something, ask, and then be ready to learn. That's like I just keep on going back to learning, but it's really the fundamental of it all. I mean, that's the whole point of school, right? You can't really escape it. Like you have to learn. Like especially if you're a CS major, everywhere, like every time you're always learning because every time something is changing, they're updating something, they're deprecating something. You always have to learn, even if even if you're a physics major or like you're a math major. That's like even more learning because that one is like everything is most of everything is theoretical. You have to like, just keep on learning. So the learning is like really fundamental. You cannot really escape it. Um, it looks like I've mostly been talking about CS majors. But like for physics, for CS majors, well, you already know, I'm sure if you're doing computer science, you already know you have a lot of job opportunities, um, like all career branches. So you can be a software engineer. The software engineer comprises a lot of things. Like most of the jobs in CS are software engineering, but under software engineering, there's a lot of things. Like you can work with cloud, you can work with backend systems, you can work on front end, you can do artificial intelligence or machine learning. I know that's like kind of the hot cake right now, but you don't have to do it because there's a lot of work to be done outside of that as well. You can do uh, quantitative engineering as well. It's kind of like software engineering, but you kind of write code for trading stocks and stuff like that. Uh, You can do a lot of things. But for physics and math students, I'm not trying to leave you out. I major in math as well. For for the math and physics, I'm a math major as well. I do two majors. And so when you do math, right, it looks like there's, like I mostly think like if I was just a math major, what would I do? Well, you can get a PhD if you want. Dr. Moore has a PhD, he can tell you a lot more about PhDs. But like because it's very theoretical, most of the time you have to learn more. And so you have to get a PhD. You can get a PhD in Ghana, or you can like come get outside of Ghana and get a PhD. I'm skipping master. I just realized I'm skipping masters, but that's because uh in some countries, like in the US, you can get a master straight out of undergrad. You can get a PhD straight out of undergrad. You don't have to get a master's before. So you can look into that, like if you're a math or physics major. But there's also like some jobs you can do. Like for physics majors, you can work in hospitals, like with the machines they use. Remember I went on a like hospital tour once, and most of the lab work is actually done by physics majors. I had no idea like that most of the stuff because apparently it's related to like optics and stuff like that. So if you're a physics major, you can look into that as well. For math majors, there's like statistics stuff that you can do, like working with statistical firms, banks, stuff like that. It's not, I'll admit, it's not a lot, mostly for math and physics majors. I hope the other speakers and maybe Dr. Moore can shed some more light on on those majors. But for computer science, you are on the right track by being in a major. You just have to learn and be ready to learn. And as an undergrad, that's mostly what's required of you. People just want to see that you can learn and you can put in the effort and then you can handle responsibility because you can't really do a lot outside of that. And so just prime yourself up, put yourself in a good position, network, good projects you can do, attend events, get the applications in. And then once the opportunity comes, you're ready to grasp it, practice for the interviews, speak to a lot of people, go in there and then try to do your best. It's okay to fail, by the way. Well, I don't mean it be comfortable failing, but don't give up. Just keep on going. And it'll be fun. Yeah. So uh that's mostly what I have to share. If someone has questions, they can like ask and I can answer them. But yeah, thank you.
All right. Thank you so much. This is yeah. So just in case maybe you joined later, what Isaac spoke. So Isaac is a math major and computer science student in the university in the US. As I said, he was one of the contestants for the National Science and Maths quiz from FANSIPEM very recently. I think that was 2019, or I think was it
No, it was
2019 or 2021? 2020.
no, it was 2017. It's a long time ago.
2017, yeah, 2017, sorry, 2017. 2017, yeah. But he's doing his bachelor's in US and has done an internship also at Facebook. And so a bit of a very good background. Of course, he started undergraduate studies as well in Ghana before he left. So he has a bit of a perspective from Ghana and from US. So what he shared with us basically is that you need a resume. It's very important, a one-pager that talks about you and what you've done. Not much about your academic records and how many papers, just a resume straight to the point of who you are. And then he also spoke about the fact that you need to have an elevated pitch, right? You need to have an elevated pitch of yourself. So elevated pitch means something like a 1 minute talk about yourself to someone who will find you interested, to say, oh, I want to kind of get you to give you a job, or I want you to come and let's talk more. So that's more of an elevated pitch. Then he also spoke about transferable skills. So, every time I tell a lot of students, first year you are taught Python programming, second year you are taught something C++, but it's very basic. Your teachers, your lecturers, we all teach you very, very introductory stuff. But transferable skill means what have you done with those basic things that you learned? So you need to create a GitHub, create a GitHub project where you can put all the things that you are doing, anything you do with something you do out of your whatever you have learned, put it out there, put it in your GitHub, and then keep it there. If anybody wants to find something about you, they can go to your GitHub, they can see some of the things that you have done. It doesn't have to be about every type of language in this world. You can do something in MATLAB, you put it there. You do something in Python, you put it there. You do something on MI or ML, machine learning, you put it there. You learn something from YouTube. YouTube has a lot of projects, so you go there, Python projects, you learn one or two, you implement it on your own, put it on GitHub, and it kind of builds your presence as well, and kind of letting someone knows that you are able to acquire knowledge, but you're also able to use the knowledge to solve a problem, or use the knowledge to do something which is relevant for the market. So this is kind of a transferable skills that he spoke about. And then he also spoke about the fact that you need to networking. You know, if you go to the lecture room, you meet friends, it's all part of networking. An event like this is part of networking. You get to talk to, you get to meet people, you get to listen to people. All part of networking. You go to the classroom, you try to expose yourself to the lecturer, say, this is what I'm doing, this is what I do, what is it? I'm trying to solve this problem. Do you have some ideas? It's part of networking, introducing yourself, networking all the time, consistently. And then he also spoke about YouTube. And this I always say it also in all my classes. YouTube is an open source learning accessibility for everyone. You know, you can learn anything from YouTube, from javelin to shot puts. Recently, someone even went to the Olympics while learning javelin from YouTube. You know, so it just shows you how strong it is. So YouTube, it's your teacher. It's your go-to teacher. Anything you don't understand, go to YouTube. You'll get the best teachers in the world to explain concept after concept. You get people from Harvard, MIT, Princeton, UCC, all the top universities in the world. They are all demonstrating their knowledge and sharing it freely on YouTube, all topics. So he also spoke about YouTube. And you need to prime yourself, put yourself in a place that will always give you an advantage. Not just saying, I have a GPA of 4.4, 4.0 or 4.0. And then what else do you have? That's the transferable skills. So you are studying, you are doing your coursework, doing everything possible, but making sure that you are up to date with the market so that when you finish, you know how to present a resume. Some people do not even know how to write a CV. And all the time, whenever I've sent out invitation for people to apply for jobs, sometimes they even write the whole email in the subjects, you know, and then in the main email content itself, they just attach the PDF. And when I see it, I don't even read such emails. I just delete them because it's a waste of time. So you must even know how to write emails, very basic fundamental things for the 21st century, email and how to apply for a job. Okay, so any other question? Well, if there's no other question, then we'll go to the next speaker. The next speaker is Fatima. So Fatima, let me share briefly. So thank you very much, Isaac. Thank you very, very much for your question. Isaac is still going to be online. So after everybody finishes, your questions can come back again. So if you didn't ask, please keep it open and then we'll come back again to your question. So thank you very, very much, Isaac. And this has been very, very mind-opening, especially for many people who are planning on this kind of lifestyle or this path to the job market. So the next person I'm going to talk about, who is going to give us a talk, is Fatima. Fatima is the head of developer startups and venture capital for Africa at NVIDIA. So she's NVIDIA's go-to person in the whole of Africa, helping set up startups all over. And she has a lot of experience in the fintech. She's responsible for, in her role at NVIDIA, she's responsible for driving momentum with external African developer communities and also equipping them with programs, tools, knowledge needed to create solutions with NVIDIA, artificial intelligence, and GPUs. Fatima also managed the Global Accelerator Program, where she worked with dozens of high growth startups and helped them to scale through their operation facilitation partnership across African markets in Egypt, Ghana, Kenya, Nigeria, Senegal, South Africa, and she has several decades, over a decade of experience also in fintech, and from both master and undergraduate thesis, she's been doing so many things also to help grow many opportunities as well. One of the other interests is also in remittances. Of course, leading Ghana fintech company for over 5 years, where she worked in the fintech area as well. She grew up in Copenhagen. Copenhagen is in Denmark, in Banjul, in Manchester, and has worked and lived in over 6 countries, all with respect to work. And she's now living in Accra, I should tell you. She's now Accra-based, eating Ghana jollof. So, Fatima, you're very welcome, and then please go ahead.
Thank you so much for the introduction, Dr. Moore. And I want this session to be as interactive as possible. So let's jump straight into it from now, right? So preparing for the 21st job century market. I'll be focusing on 2 things today. I just briefly wanted to introduce myself. Dr. Moore already did an amazing job doing it, so I'll just jump straight into it. As you guys know, my name is Fatima, born and raised in Denmark, but I'm originally from the Gambia. I actually came to Ghana 8 years ago as a student myself. I was still in the final year of my master's program. The plan was to go back to Denmark. That didn't happen because, I used LinkedIn quite a lot. I was pretty proactive. And I started using artificial intelligence back in 2015, 2016. So today I will share my experiences around this and how it's landed me over 7 job offers in some of the FANG companies that Yeboah mentioned. If you want to get as much as this session, you have to put as much into it, right? So I think Kwamina has been a great example of how to be proactive. And so has Yeboah. And I think everyone that's joined this call on a Saturday has also done that. But feel free to jump into the chat, ask as many questions as possible, because I want to keep the presentation short so that we can do more of the Q&A. So I'm going to talk about how I've leveraged LinkedIn to land international job offers. So like I said, I also have a LinkedIn account, and LinkedIn has been my end-all be-all to everything. They call me the LinkedIn ambassador. I'm not being paid by LinkedIn yet, but yes, I do love it. So why did I lean into LinkedIn? When I came to Ghana, I didn't know anybody here, right? I didn't have any network, I didn't have any connections, and I also only had a few years of experience as it pertains to tech. As I said, originally, I come from a development and economics background, not a tech background. So I had to bridge a gap. So setting up a LinkedIn 101, we all know how to do it, but how do you do it to become really, really, really optimized? So LinkedIn kind of works the same way Google works, right? So you want to make sure that your headline is optimized for search engine optimization. So whatever you want your business card to read is what your LinkedIn headline should read, right? So in my case, it's developers, it's startups, it's VCs, and it's Africa, and it's artificial intelligence. That way, if you type in developers, startup, AI in Africa, my LinkedIn profile will come pretty much high in your radar. And then after that, you want to kind of talk a little bit about what you do. It can be 1 line, it can be 1 paragraph, but as soon as you talk about what you do, I think it helps. So maybe let's just use Yeboah as an example. It could read something like, hi, my name is Yeboah Solomon. I'm currently a student at X, Y, and Z, and I'm looking to work with a FANG company to contribute to X, Y, and Z. That way you put a recruiter's attention on your radar. And then you want to set the context, right? So I think, our previous speaker spoke a lot about GitHub, YouTube. Dr. Moore also spoke a lot about that. Show online what you're doing. You can write a blog post and just say, I'm a level 200 student and I've used YouTube to help me do X, Y, and Z. And here's a link to my GitHub repository. You want to make sure that what you talk about in your about is relevant in your LinkedIn future season. And then you want to talk about your experience, right? So it's one thing to list down your experience. It's another thing to showcase what you have as it pertains to your experience. If you're a student, please do not be intimidated by this. Let's start on this side here, right? So when I was a business development associate, this was back in 2016, I was still a student. So the work that I was showcasing to the world is blog posts that I would write. So I would write blog pieces on artificial intelligence. I would pitch it to Ghana Web at the time, and they would pick it up. If Ghana Web wouldn't pick it up, I would literally post it on my own Medium blog and so forth. And then this as well, this photo right here, that was also a student engagement that I did with a community called Dev Congress. I'm not sure how many people know Dev Congress, but Dev Congress, as you know, it's a leading developer ecosystem, and I was part of them, and I would attend their networks and so forth. And then I was also doing a lot of work talking about artificial intelligence, and every time I'd speak about it, I would publish that, right? So an example could be today's session. You could literally, after the presentation, literally write a LinkedIn piece on, here are 5 things I learned attending Dr. Moore's session on X, Y, and Z, and then you can publish it. And that is, content that you can use. So that's really interesting ways to show how to use LinkedIn. If anyone has any questions, feel free to, jump in at any point in time, add any things in the chat. I'll be monitoring it. Some of us have, but do literally nothing there. And that's okay. If you don't do anything on LinkedIn, that's fine. Today is the reason why you'll hopefully start doing something on LinkedIn. So I used LinkedIn at the time to find new job opportunities. I was ready to get job opportunities from the international market. And as you can see, this Excel spreadsheet is called the hustle of trying to find a hustle, because trying to find opportunity is a full-time job. And the way that I went about it, I was very, very diligent. I had over 70 jobs that I had applied for. And every time I would apply for it, there were keywords that I would use to put on LinkedIn to find opportunities, right? I'll put down the link to the applications, and then I'd put back the feedback that I would also get from these companies. Because the reality was, out of 70 jobs that I had applied for, I had only gotten shortlisted for 12. So it is quite a lot of work. But like the previous speaker said, the more you do this, by the time your opportunity comes, you grab it much faster. So I will start right now, even if it's with internships. When I was in university and I was doing my internship here in Ghana, I found my second opportunity by just reaching out to a lady. I had seen her on Twitter and I just messaged her, hey, I see the work you're doing on Twitter. I'd be interested in interning if you have any opportunities. So again, I think in the 21st century, you have to be super proactive. Nothing will come to you. You kind of have to go after it, and you have to create your own opportunities. So yeah, the best kept secret on LinkedIn is keywords, right? So earlier I spoke about keywords. I think when you go into LinkedIn, use keywords. So let's say in this instance, mine was Africa, startups, and join our team. When you put those words into LinkedIn, it's almost like Google. The search engine will come up and show you people who are looking for new roles and so forth. And you can literally on LinkedIn go in and change it to this month only or this week only, just so that you see the most relevant content. And then when it comes to the results, right? After I did all of this work on LinkedIn, I actually ended up being headhunted, not even applied, but headhunted by recruiters from Salesforce, from Google, from Twitter, and also from African Unicorns. And I got offers from all of those jobs. So these are some examples of how people would headhunt me on LinkedIn. As you can see here, someone would be like, I'm a recruiter from Paystack. I saw your profile on LinkedIn and I'm interested in your work. I'm a recruiter from a Web3 space. I came across your profile on LinkedIn. Here's a job ad, so forth and so forth. And the irony is, like I said, I didn't apply for any of these jobs. I applied for other jobs. I didn't end up getting that. What I did end up getting was recruiters who had seen my LinkedIn profile. And what ended up happening is I landed at NVIDIA. And when I landed at NVIDIA, That was one of the jobs that I actually didn't apply for. But by the time that I met the recruiter at NVIDIA, all the other 70 plus jobs I had applied for, it made it easier for me to get into this role and then do the application form through the back end. So the application form through the back end looked like they reached out to me and then I applied and then I went through 7 rounds of applications. But by the time I had done the applications with NVIDIA, I had done 70 plus interviews. So, doing interviews was almost like a second language to me. So what do I do at NVIDIA today? I think before jumping into that, I'd love to know what people think about NVIDIA because NVIDIA offers something that I think is super important in today's job market. So how many people have heard of ChatGPT and how many people use ChatGPT? Awesome. So that is correct. NVIDIA is known to make GPUs, but as many of you know, GPUs powers something called artificial intelligence and machine learning. So the story was back in '93, NVIDIA was creating GPUs for gaming. And then a professor in Stanford used this GPU to do computation for his biomedical work, and he realized that it was actually helping him with machine learning. And then NVIDIA pivoted to artificial intelligence. So today, 84% of artificial intelligence tools are created using NVIDIA's GPUs. This includes ChatGPT, Google's AI, Siri, Netflix recommendations, and so forth and so forth. So, as this quote says, it's difficult to think of any industry that AI wouldn't affect, right? So I think AI is a super interesting tool that people should know about and be able to use. And when we talk about using AI, you don't necessarily need to be coding in AI or creating tools from AI, but understanding artificial intelligence enough to have a high-level conversation. So these are some of the customers that NVIDIA has that uses our AI tools. In the auto industry, you can work with everyone from Ford to Mercedes. When it comes to consumer internet, we work with everyone from Twitter, Pinterest, ByteDance, who are the makers of TikTok, CSP, we work with all of them, Microsoft, Google, Oracle, Alibaba, AWS. If you're using their cloud is powered by NVIDIA. Same with the automotive industry, robotics, medical, retail, and industrial. So like I said, artificial intelligence is a tool that can be used everywhere and anywhere. And they always say, don't be afraid of AI, but be afraid of people who are using AI to help them automize themselves. So GTC is coming up, right? And GTC is the world's largest AI conference. It will be happening from the 20th to the 23rd of March. We'll be joined by industry leaders, including the makers of ChatGPT. Google Brain will be there. CEO of Microsoft will be there as well. We're offering more than 600 free sessions. I'll post the link in so you can register. Make sure you register, share the registration link. Registrants will be entered into a draw to win prizes. Some of the prizes include our Deep Learning Institute, which is a free course that we offer regarding the fundamentals of deep learning, and you can get certified for it. Another prize would be, I'd be happy to sit down with someone here on the chat and, help them build their LinkedIn and help them position themselves. And some of the key sessions that will happen in GTC is 5 paths to AI. And these paths can be technical, non-technical, marketing, program marketing, building tools, marketing tools, and so forth. And then we'll also look at AI in Africa, how it can be used, and so forth. So to connect with me, again, I'll put my information in the chat. You can find me on LinkedIn, Medium, and you can also find me on Twitter. So I want to, take a pause here, go back to a key page here, and then answer as many questions as possible from the participants. That's why I came today. I want this to be a Q&A and not necessarily a lecture. It's a Saturday, so I want to relieve you guys from feeling like you're in a classroom. So over to you. Again, I think I said here, the key thing to succeeding in a 21st century is being proactive. So please be proactive. Ask as many questions as possible. You have 3 people on the call today. You never know who's hiring. You never know who's going to take note of a bright student today and have them in mind for an opportunity tomorrow. So this is a great opportunity, to sell yourself and showcase the work that you're doing or just questions that you might have. In the meantime, I'll just give you an example. There was a Web3 conference that happened in Accra. I don't know whether anyone heard of it. The founder of Ethereum was in town, and I actually put one of the students I had worked in the past with the conference, right? He now heads Cointelegraph. Elijah is 22. I started working with him when he was 15. So that's just an example again of a student who was very proactive, right? You get in as much as you get out. So yeah, I'll pause right here. Over to you guys. Kwamina, yes, please unmute yourself and yeah, let's have a conversation.
Okay, so please, let's say, for instance, you've gained knowledge in something and you are very good at it. And let's say you are applying for a job or your profile is in such a way that will attract customers. But let's say it's something that is, let's say, CPU and GPU intensive, but you don't have the right setup for it at the moment. What do you think is the best way to go about it?
Sure. Great question, right? So I think in reality, you have to really work with the tools that you have, right? So one of my colleagues, he born and raised in Ghana, also went to PRESEC. He was into hardware. Access to hardware was very difficult, so he started building on software. Now he's pivoted back into hardware again, right? So what are the lowest hanging fruits in your ecosystem? What does the school have to offer, and how can you work on that? And then also, how are you showcasing the work that you're doing? And feel free to, add any comments or feedback, or if you have any additional questions. Does that answer your question? Awesome, Kwamina. Does anyone else have any questions, feedbacks, or comments?
Please, good evening. Sorry,
hello.
Good day.
Hi, Phoebe. How are you?
I'm doing well. My God, great.
Awesome.
Please, I wanted to know if you want to pursue a career in AI, is master's degree necessary?
No. So I come from I studied development and economics, right? The irony is in the work that I do today, I barely use anything that I learned from university. I probably shouldn't say this, but that is just the reality, right? The job market works in a sense that by the time that you finish school and you get into the job market, everything that you learned, not that it has expired, but is the foundation. The best thing that I learned at university was how to be proactive, how to, I didn't even learn LinkedIn by university. I learned it on YouTube. I literally YouTube how to come up with a great LinkedIn profile, and that's what I went on. In Africa, what we actually see is a lot of the AI professionals are self-taught. Everything that I know about AI, I learned from the startup that I worked with, a Ghanaian startup at that, right? I studied in the West. That didn't teach me AI. I learned it here in Ghana. So I would say if you're interested in AI, there's a group called AIAGH. I'll put it in the chat. I would look into that. Then you also have Indaba and Indaba X Ghana. I put it into that. I would look into those type of communities. So they're communities where people come together over WhatsApp. They, share resources and tools. That would be a really good way for you to get a better understanding into AI. Everything you need is around you. Yeah.
Thank you.
Bright, can you consider me as your student? I wish I was teaching, but I'm not Bright. But that's a good question. What we can do, Bright, is, if you aren't on LinkedIn yet, share your LinkedIn with me, and then we can have a look at it and see how we can position you better. But like I said, I challenge anyone on this call today to share with your students through a LinkedIn post or through a Medium post as to what you learned. And I'd be happy to amplify it through my networks. Hey, Fatima, I read Health Information Management at UCC, graduate this year. So what opportunities do I have in the field of IT? That's up to you. This is, so the Health Information Management. Health Information Management, there's so many opportunities, but like I said, the opportunities, you won't see them, you'll have to find them. If I were you, I would go into LinkedIn, I would type healthcare, Africa, opportunities. Healthcare, Africa, job. Healthcare, Africa, roles. And you will literally see the opportunities come your way. Please post your questions for everyone to read. Awesome. I hope that answers your question regarding healthcare, health management. But in the meantime, I'm going to add some Ghanaian companies in the health field that I know hire and pharma. But again, before you get to these companies, they would also want to know that you are proactive. So I've hired a lot, both internationally and locally, and I would always rather work with a student who's proactive rather than someone who has A stars. So you can have a C or a B, but if you're proactive, you take initiative, your LinkedIn profile is stellar, you've written a blog post or two, I would rather work with you in that capacity as opposed to having A stars but little to show for it. So it's skills for me over theory. Because if you have the skills, you can always learn. If you have theory, you only learn what you know. I want to specialize in Python backend. How do I get a mentor? Because it is really overwhelming. Completely understand, Gideon. Again, I think when people think about mentors, they think about one person as a mentor. When I think about mentors, I think about a board of advisories. Dr. Moore is a mentor of mine. My colleagues are a mentor of mine. LinkedIn is a mentor of mine. YouTube is a mentor of mine. Those are the best mentors, right? So get a little bit from everybody. And again, if you want to find a mentor, join communities. I'll post the information into the GTC information here. And like I said, there are 600 plus sessions. From those 600 plus sessions, you're probably not even going to be able to get through 10. So you're going to find mentorship or insights from those sessions. And that's how I will start to think about mentorship. I think mentorship in the way that we know it has really expired. It's no longer in that sense. Mentorship is really like a buffet. You get a little bit of banku from here, a little bit of jollof from there, and a little bit of okra from there, and they all serve different purposes and needs. Awesome, Bright. Thank you so much. I study a master's in mathematics and would like to go into AI intelligence. Where do I start from? Ranford, great question. I think where you start from is signing up to GTC and then signing into the 5 path into AI. Because during that session, there'll be different people from NVIDIA, Google, and other fields talking about the different path into artificial intelligence. And yeah, you have a great foundation into venturing in. And AI right now, as you guys know, is the hot cake. It's almost like what the iPhone did for Apple. It's what AI is right now. So this is the wave to kind of get onto it. So if you miss this GTC, that would be a shame. Also, Indaba, as you know, if no one knows about it, it's a community of AI and ML. They're doing their second workshop in Ghana. Last year, it was in Tunisia. The year before that, it was in South Africa. So if you can make it to Accra, I would really encourage you make it to Accra because a lot of people are coming in from San Francisco, from Egypt, from Tunisia to be in Accra. And Indaba X is going to happen in September. But close it happens, I will share more information with Dr. Moore. The conference is for free. Everything I'll be sharing today is for 0.00. So there's absolutely no excuses for you guys not to join in. In the meantime, I'll share the information. If you guys have any questions, I'll be here for the rest of the conversation and I can just, I'll join in the chat and then I'll share. Dr. Moore, I'll give you your time back. Over to you.
Thank you so much, Fatima. This is very, very exciting. So this is directly what how to get yourself a job, honestly. So nowadays you can get yourself a job just from anywhere in the world. So far as you can demonstrate transferable skills, it doesn't matter. There are people who are in Ghana and they are working for companies in US, in Germany, in everywhere. There are people living in Ghana and getting paid US salaries and so on. So you can actually do that. Just make sure you put yourself out there. And you see, first speaker spoke about LinkedIn, also social networking and online persons. Second speaker has also spoken about online persons and proactiveness. So it means it's very, very critical. And someone asked here that since we don't always apply the things we learn in class in the job market, is it best to focus on internships to build experience, or we should still stay in the classroom and explore? If you are listening to the first speaker as well, you would have heard what he said. I said, there's nothing wrong. You need to get the knowledge from your classroom. You need to make sure you are making sure you are getting the right score, but you must also make sure you are getting the transferable skills. It means that you should be able to be on top of the market. You need to have done something or be doing something else that is putting you further ahead of your colleagues, so that when someone is seeking for a job at Facebook, you go, you show your grades, and then you show your transferable skills, and you show your online presence as well, then you are far ahead. You get all the good jobs that are in the market. So this is exactly what has been said. And also, as Fatima said, thank you so much. You gave practical example of how people can get a job. So put yourself on the line in the online presence. Make sure everybody knows what you are doing. If you learn something, write it. Make a small post, a small comment. Tag people, hashtags. I mean, go to Twitter. Put yourself there. Contribute intelligently to good discussions, follow the right people, put yourself there. If you need a job, people are getting jobs just by posting on LinkedIn, as she has actually been given as an example. So these are real practical ways to get a job. And once you can do that, I think you easily get a job. So thank you so much, Fatima. But she's also there, she's still online. So whenever you have questions, after we finish, maybe some 20 minutes, anybody can jump in and answer their questions as well. And then finally, so thank you very, very much, Fatima. This has been very, very nice. Also on the issue of mentorship, it's possible to get mentors that are going to also help you. And as she said, mentoring us now has blown up. You can learn from many people at the same time, and you can learn many things from anybody that you want as well. So thank you so much. Our next speaker is Adam Money. So Adam, let me say something a bit about him. Adam has worked in several aspects. I knew him from KNUST. He studied computer science as well. And then thereafter, he has worked with several companies. He was in MEST. I think he was even in MEST at some point, or GenKey, where they were doing design for biometric or biocryptic IDs management systems. And then he moved to Pact Publishing, where he was a technical review of the JBPM6 book on Pact Publishing. Then he also became a software consultant for himself, developing several software packages for banks, healthcare systems, all over Ghana, finance, fintech areas as well. He founded his own company, which is I think it's Amati, right, which is involved in the design, development, and business value for Africa's procurement software. So to develop a procurement software. Then he works now for Vibes, which is in US. I think Adam is in Ghana, so he's going to tell you how he's working in Ghana for a company in US. This is very interesting so that you understand. And then also at Andela, also doing mentoring and workshops and stuff like that for hiring people and recruiting software engineers and stuff also for big companies. So thank you very much. So Adam, please go ahead and start.
Yeah, can you guys hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, so it's rained here and you can hear some thunder claps and so on. It stopped raining, but I've lost power, so I'm coasting on my phone's data.
Okay.
So you might not be able to see me. I'm trying to make sure you can still at least hear me.
Okay.
But yes, so my name is Adam Money. I've been a software engineer since, let's say, 2008. So you could say about 15 years of experience being a software engineer. And yes, I started off with GenKey, which was into biometrics, and building one of the fastest AFIS systems AFIS is a system for comparing like people biometrically to be sure that people don't register multiple times. So if you've had, like, for example, some of the elections, you hear about 30,000 people registering more than once, and a few of them are caught and so on. So an AFIS system does that double checking. So yes, and then I moved on to my own startup. And then from there, whilst I'm still running another startup, I work with Vibes. Vibes is one of the 4 tier 1 aggregators for SMS messaging and MMS messaging in the US. So if you send 40% or one of the 4, right? So maybe about 30% of the traffic, all the SMS and MMS traffic in the US goes through Vibes. We do, let's say, 1 million SMS, no, 1 billion SMS messages, SMS, MMS, yeah, messages every month. So that tells you the kind of scale that we are dealing with, and we need to maintain systems to be able to deal with that kind of traffic. So I went to tech, and to be able to get into Genki was basically I had let's start off with the fact that you are in school at a minimum, and I think all the others have said it. A degree is really just giving you a foundation, and that foundation can be obtained the hard way if you are trying to go all out on yourself, or you can at least gain some of it in a university. So for me, staying in school to be able to get that degree is important, but it gives you a foundation. And trust me, whether you are in MIT or you're in Stanford or you're in KNST, your lecturers cannot give you a foundation. You would think that it's because you're in Ghana, but that's not the case. It's everywhere. It's like that. A school gives you a foundation based on which you need to build. But then, like the other said again, it's now your own proactivity. So how did Genki was hiring engineers, and they had come together with a specific interest in looking for Ghanaian engineers. Yes, so like I said, way back in 2008, I was already blogging and writing on my experiences using Java-based technology. And so when a friend of mine mentioned that, oh, there's these guys who are looking for engineers, I attended the interview along with other people, but it was so obvious that I had put myself out there. You could see I understood the technical complexities of the platforms that they were going to use anyway. So it was obvious. I had put myself out there. Just like Fatima is talking about, making your own LinkedIn profile and whatnot and so on. So you will gain the basics in school, but you need to now go beyond what school gives you. So let me sort of give my own sort of tips. It will reiterate a bit of what the others have said, but then repetition is good for honing things down. So one, your university education is going to be a foundation. Just take it like that, right? Don't debate it. But number two, now start getting informed about trends in your area of study while in school. So do that through what others have mentioned: YouTube channels, blogs, industry news sites. They are going to be essential. The directions in which if it's physics, if it's mathematics, it's whatever area it's like, whatever course you are doing, there is what is being applied in this way or that way or the other. And the applications of those things, you are not likely to see them so much in school. But if you are researching out there, like YouTube, blogs, industry news, like even you follow people who are leading authorities in maths, or leading authorities in physics, or leading authorities in computer science, programming, and so on, you would get to know, like, you would keep yourself in sort of in the know of what is happening. You are sort of preparing yourself already, right? So now, certainly seek opportunities to take an internship. Our vacations are for us, but I would say they are for your own betterment. They are for your own exposure. So find ways in which you can take on internships within your area of study, because like even doing an internship gives you confidence. Getting to study under somebody and to be mentored by somebody, it gives you don't realize it until you don't realize your own capabilities until you are challenged. So if you sit in your comfort zone and think school is going to give you all the opportunities, I'm sorry. But if you take on internships, it gives you a chance to know which areas you actually are naturally drawn into. It gives you a chance to try this and see, okay, maybe this area I'm not so good at, or I'm not really enthused by it. But by the next vacation, the next internship you took, you did something else and you're like, oh, okay, this feels like a more natural fit for me. So don't throw away your vacations. Yes, not all of them, but at least a few of them. Try to find some internship to get on. Now, software is going to be important to your success in the future. I say software because software are tools that you use to do what you need to do. And I'm not talking about programming. Like, for example, being very good with Excel is itself a skill. So it's a skill for analysis of data. So you look at your own industry and what are the tools that you use in that industry to do this or that or the other. Get good at them because those give you an extra edge when it comes to why you should be employable. And that is something you can also mention in your CVs. Like, I'm very proficient in this or that or the other. There's some of like I recently hired somebody because I'm sort of a serial entrepreneur, so I started a construction related business, and we recently had somebody basically because he has some seriously good chops on some 3D modeling tools that we need for our job. Yeah, he learned the basics in school, but he's really polished it over the years by taking his own initiative, right? So they give you an extra edge. So whatever software applies within your environment, take it seriously, grab them, and be very good at them, be fluent in them. Now, the guys have talked about building an online portfolio, and based on my experience, I can only say yes. All right. Whether it's GitHub, we'll start off with linking because you need that, but then link it into other things you've done. If it's GitHub stuff that you've done, code that you have pushed somewhere, whatever, find ways to link your LinkedIn portfolio with things that you've done, which can easily be referred to. Like, for example, if it's a bit of code, then putting code in GitHub actually means you need to learn Git commands. So that is itself a skill that you have to learn. So the process of putting your own self out there means you would have to learn some skills to be able to do the putting yourself out there. Like when I was blogging on Enterprise Java, you are writing a blog, so you need to learn how to express yourself. And you move from point A to point B to point C. So that process of technical writing is important, which is how I became a technical reviewer of books by Pocket Publishing. It's because they saw the ability to put ideas together from A to B to C to reach a conclusion and teach somebody something. So the process of creating a portfolio or whatever, blog or whatever, is actually a process of developing a skill, which will become helpful to you down the line, right? And like, take learning as a lifelong process. You're going to be learning for as long as you can. I've been a developer for 15 years, and this year, Vibes is asking me to move on to a different team, which requires me to go beyond my JavaScript / Java Kotlin experience to now learn Ruby on Rails. So I'm like back to class 1, trying to learn Ruby so that I can learn Ruby on Rails so that I can work on something or the other. 15 years after school and being a guru in a few other areas, I'm having to learn something totally. Learning is going to be part of you. So begin to take up the attitude of it And like we said, document your learning through these online platforms. If like, for example, if you've learned something, you want to create a YouTube video about it. One, the process of even creating a YouTube video, it's itself a skill. So that's something you can take somewhere else. Be a lifelong learner. It's once you guys are tech people, maths, physics, you are learning a science and then finding a way to apply that science to this or that or the other. So you are technologists, whether you like it or yes. It's not only the computer science or whatever. So you guys are technologists, and a technologist must be somebody who is continuously on a learning path, having to learn and having to improve themselves, and not saying, oh, well, I'm stuck in this area and that's all I am. Because the opportunities are there. Once you've learned the basics, it's easy to pick up the next thing and easy to pick up the next thing. Learning is always, you build up. So whatever you learned before makes it easier to learn something else that comes up after. So just take on the attitude that you're going to be a lifelong learner and that you are going to then find ways to put your learning out there, because you're talking about a job. You are not learning for learning's sake. You are learning so you can be seen as somebody who has the skill. So do the learning, but then find ways to put that learning out there so that when time comes in a large sea of people, these are the things that will be used to filter out. When you have so many people applying for jobs, these are the things that will be used to filter out to the possible candidates. So if you are learning but you're not putting yourself out there, that's also a problem. You need to be learning and you need to be putting your learning out there somehow so that people can see that and use that to filter out the rest and maybe look at 3 or 4 candidates in which you are one of those 3 or 4 people. Right. And the last thing I would say is in technology, collaboration is key. And maybe not just in technology, but in life, in life in general. And learning to work with other people is important. I give you an example that now that I've had to join a different team to work on a totally different thing. I am, quote unquote, in the ranking of, like, in my job, there's junior engineers, there's engineers, and there's senior engineers, then there's principal engineers, right? But because I'm needed somewhere else, I'm taking Ruby lessons from people who are like 2 steps lower than me, all right? But who gives a damn? So far as it's solving the problem, that is what is important. So my job is to work with them so that we can together achieve something. So whilst if you have the opportunity to, example, especially when it comes to your project work and other things, if you can also show the fact that you collaborated with other people in doing whatever, as maybe you are given a group assignment, or these, I think some of you do semester-based assignments where you have to build something or write a report or those kinds of things. The fact that you're able to collaborate with other people is helpful. And 2, that there are tools out there which help collaboration. So again, if you use tools like online tools, let's say, for example, for documentation, let's say you use Atlassian Confluence. Confluence is a tool for collaborative documentation. So you use that. Then when you're out of school, that's something you can easily reference to somebody and they can go and read it yourself. And they see that it's not only you who wrote it, but you wrote it with other people. That's collaboration. So that is a key skill that you should learn. When we are in school, everybody's like thinking of only themselves. But frankly, I can, for example, in final year, me and Aram Teria of Letty Arts, Stephen Moore knows him, and a bunch of other people, when in 2008, we wanted to build Khan 2000, a game, Khan 2008. And this was like Aram bringing multiple people together to do this. even in school, the issues came up and we were not able to, basically funding issues and whatnot, and we were not able to do it. But right in Tech, KNUST campus, we were learning how to work together to try to do something. This is a skill that you are going to, that businesses would really be glad to see and put you in a good stead to be brought on board, to be hired for a job. So that is an important skill. And if you have the opportunity to work with others, do it, because like any serious professional organization, collaborating with others is going to be important. And if you have a way to show that you've collaborated with others in doing anything, that is good. So I'd like to wrap up a bit now and talk a bit about Andela. So Andela is a platform where we are connecting engineers with top-notch companies, both in the US and in Europe. And it's right now, it's mostly hiring people with a bit of experience. So you should have, at least, apart from just a profile, like you should have worked a little bit, maybe 3-4 years in an environment which has sort of shaped you a bit. You've learned how to collaborate with other people. You've learned your technical skills, yes, but you've also learned a bit of your people skills and so on. And then it gives you the chance to now work in all sorts of companies. We have people working in GitHub, people working in Google, people working in all sorts of places, and they're all in Ghana. I'm working with Vibes Media, and I'm sitting here in Accra. And like as Stephen said, I'm being paid in US. Even at Vibes Media, I'm considered a principal engineer, which is not a small role. So I would, when it comes to the tech space, I think Andela is doing a good thing. And if you have the opportunity to join them later in life, maybe like 3-4 years after school, it would be a very good opportunity for you, because whatever you've done in Ghana, trust me, you will be refined better even when you are out there working on an international level. And yes, you never know, you might end up in Facebook or any of these found companies. Me, I'm not worried about those because I'm still doing fine where I am. But maybe that's your goal. You want to work in Facebook or somewhere. So yeah, that's fine by me. But yeah, that's the opportunity that Andela gives you, and that's what that is through Andela that I'm working with Vibes right now. But of course, there are so many opportunities. Every day there's job postings out there, and I'm looking at, okay, which one might be my next adventure. I haven't found it yet, but we'll see. So I think I'll end it here. And if you guys have questions, you can share them.
Perfect. So thank you very much, Adam. This was fantastic for us. If you have a question, you can just unmute yourself and then ask your question. Now the floor is open for everyone, and you can ask questions directly to anyone as well. So please go ahead and unmute yourself, ask question. You can direct it to whoever you want to. And so just a brief summary of what Adam said. The same process, put yourself out there is very important. And then he's in Ghana, but he's a software engineer, a principal engineer for a company in US, and he's in Ghana. So it tells you that you can be in Ghana, you can still be enjoying salaries from US as an engineer, as a software engineer, or as any type of engineer as well. And this is also good for you. So skills, and that is the most important thing. And I remember I really, tech in those times, I quite remember he mentioned also Aram and those other guys. And they founded companies like Letty Arts, which is developing 3D games in Ghana here. They didn't learn it from anywhere. They just learned it in school, implemented it in tech. They started working on these kind of things, ideas, and now they've built companies for themselves on these things, on these simple ideas. But it's just training yourself and making sure that you have the right skills for the markets. So so someone is asking, maybe I read it. It says, what does it take to be a software developer, please? So maybe this year, Adam, you can answer it for us.
What does it take to be a software developer? Well, it takes perseverance and tenacity. So one of the ways in which I try to encourage people is, everybody has a phone. You might, and most students might have some Android or most likely an Android from in Ghana. A few of you have iPhones, so that's another matter. But I like to tell people, try to learn how to do Android. The reason why I say that is because you can already build something and put it on your phone and see it working. Software engineering in the early stages of software engineering, it can be a bit frustrating and hard. You have to read in so many places and whatnot and so on. And when you don't see something coming out of what you are doing, you can easily get frustrated. So I like to start people off with, take up Android development. You have a phone. When you do something small, you run it on your phone and you see it working, and you're like, oh, I'm excited. That's good. It's good for your mental health. Because no matter what, software requires you to be a person who can sit your ass down, read, watch YouTube videos, whatever it is, and try to practice it and have some sort of outcomes from it. So.
All right. Thank you very, very much. So, so as Adama just said, if you want to be a software engineer, straight away, Android, start doing one. And I was actually telling students recently in my class, we needed someone to develop an Android, an app for us. And then the guy, within 4 days, he said he would do it with 4 days. He took 4,000 for it. And in 4 days, he had finished developing it and sent it. 4,000 CDs. Exactly. I mean, just like that. He took it just like that.
Just like that.
4 days, 4,000. Somebody's salary is
1,000 per day.
Oh, yeah. But so, I mean, exactly. So I tell students all the time that real stuff, these are things. So you cannot just say you've learned Python, you've learned Java, and you are unemployed and you don't know. It means that you are not thinking correctly. So there are real markets that need things, So Android development is one. If you can program or do some Android development, somebody can just say, I need an app. You just, even for basic, you can say, okay, I'm doing it just also to try myself. And then you take some money for it and you do it.
Yes.
To be out there. So exactly as Adam said, you must do something and let it work for you to see that it's working. Then you get the experience of what fails, what doesn't fail, how to improve it, how to get it working better and better. And someone is saying that I'm a pure mathematics student. What are the opportunities available out there apart from teaching? So as Isaac hinted beginning, usually pure mathematics, really for pure maths, there's really little that you can do for transferable skills. But to get out there, something you need to know is how to write programs is very important, how to code something. Even if you want to do pure maths, you can still learn how to code. Because if you go out there on some of the big analytical markets, like maybe Wall Street, where they are trading in stocks, as Isaac's hinted already. A lot of the people on those areas are maths, physics, computer science students. You know, in the banks, the high-end banks, a lot of the people working at those places, analytical environments, are maths, computer science, physics, chemistry students who have transitioned into those areas. So their analytical background helps them a lot in taking those quick decisions and very calculative decisions as well. So there's nothing wrong with being a pure math student. You need to just have transferable skills. And you must ask yourself, what is the transferable skill if I want to move out of teaching? What is the transferable skill? Other than that, you have to stay in an area where you just have to teach. So if you want to move out of teaching, then you must learn very basic things like programming. You know, start from Python and then build yourself gradually. As you have already learned, YouTube is there. You can learn many things. How to start, how you can just go Python for beginners, or 30 minutes Python for beginners, or how to write my first Python code. You get basic training, basic understanding, and you build it from there. So those are the most critical areas that you have to look at. Any other question? No question. Wow, thank you so much. So I want to say a very big thank you to Isaac, also to Fatima, and then to Adam for joining us. This was very, very wonderful. And I'm very, very happy about this opportunity. I'll share the video.